Hey guys, Waterfowler41 here, and in today's video, we're gonna be replacing the tie rod ends on my truck. So I bought my truck used. Now it's got about 40,000 miles on it and getting a little bit of slop in the ball joints, so it's a good time to replace those. And we're gonna go with a little bit more of a durable option. So enter the RPG kit. So you get the RPG tie rod ends as well as some new jam nuts, which is gonna increase the durability on the front end and then just basically increase the capability of the front end as well. Let's go ahead and get the truck up on jack stands, get the wheel off, and I'll walk you through the installation. It should be super simple. One thing I will say, it is absolutely mandatory that you get an alignment after you install these tie rod ends. So plan ahead, plan accordingly. So right now I'm gonna do the tie rod ends tonight. Then tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., I'm gonna drive this bad boy over to Firestone. All right, so we got our wheel off, we got everything accessed, and essentially what we're replacing is this guy right here. This is our tie rod. We need to loosen up this jam nut, and then we need to break this tie rod off of the lower, or off of the knuckle here. So before we do all of that, what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna measure from the edge of the boot to the dead center of this ball joint. The reason being is when you look at our RPG tie rod end, it's a different length. So we wanna make sure that the center of this ball joint, or the center of this joint to there is gonna be the same distance as the center of the factory ball joint to there. We know we're not changing anything on that side. Now, while we're in here, you can also buy the full tie rod end kit. Two reasons why I'm not buying that. One, that basically over reinforces the entire steering tie rod system here. And what ends up happening is if you hit a really big bump, that will translate the impact all the way into your steering box, and then you end up running the risk of messing with your steering. So if you're gonna do anything as far as durability, replace the tie rod ends, keep that. You can, increase the durability there, but keep your outer one, or I'm sorry, your inner ones factory, because if you have a failure, you want it to fail here. You don't want it to fail in the steering box. Steering box is a lot more expensive to replace. Also, when you go to replace the inner tie rods, you have to break this boot open. And in my opinion, every time you break open the seal here, now you're opening yourself up for getting water in there. It's just not worth the risk. So what we're doing is replacing this guy right here. So make sure you grab the right RPG side. The RPG logo will indicate what side it's on. So you want to be able to see RPG the right side up. The other side, obviously, is flipped, and this would look goofy, but the RPG is flipped on the passenger side one. So let's dive into it and break this guy free, break this off, and measure everything, and get rolling with the installation. All right, so we got the inner tie rod off. We're good to go. I took a measurement from the boot to the middle of the joint here, and it's 13 inches, so we're gonna try to replicate that one with the RPG kit. Now, the last thing we need to do before we can install the RPG kit is hit the opening here with a drill on the bottom. So we're just gonna hit it with a step bit real carefully on the bottom. We just need to make sure that it's open just enough so this bolt drops through. You can see the bottom of the bolt there, so it does not need a lot of drilling, just a little hit with it, maybe a couple times around the hole just to get it opened up a bit, and then this bolt will drop in there. And then once that's good to go, then we can get our RPG tie rod threaded onto the inner tie rod end here. We can measure up everything to 13 inches and get everything dropped in, and I'll show you the order you drop everything in, because it's a little bit different because it's a much different style versus the standard ball joint. Okay, so I hit it with a step bit. You can see it really didn't need too much. I think I hit it for maybe 2 or 3 seconds, but you can see our bolt goes all the way through. So now what we want to do is we want to locate our new jam nut. So this guy threads on this hex head side, goes forward. Once you get to the end of it, then you're going to thread this bad boy on. It's going to overlap the end there, put it there for now. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to put our RPG tie rod on. And what we could do is we could play around with this section here as well as here, and we can get our 13 inches to the center of this joint here, and then we could set everything up. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll focus on installing the rest of the joint here. So this tapered section goes in like that. This is going to drop on top of there. The top of the misalignment goes there. And then in the kit, you get a grade 8 bolt, grade 8 washer. That's going to drop through the top. You're going to thread it through there, through here. Then on the bottom, you got a washer as well as a nut. We're going to tighten up everything, and then we're good to go. But what I'm going to do now is mess around with this and make sure I get 13 inches to the center here, and then we'll be good to go to install stuff. All right, so I got this guy measured 13 inches from here to center, so we're good to go there. You don't need to tighten all this stuff up yet. It's a lot easier to tighten that up when everything is cinched down. So now what I'm going to do is find the bottom misalignment, the tapered section. That's going to go right inside there. The top section here is going to go on the top of this guy, just like so. And then what we're going to do is pull in the bottom end here, and then eventually once we line it up, it'll fall in just like that. We're going to take our top bolt. That guy goes all the way through. Our washer and our nut. Make sure you put the nut on the right way. And there we go. So we'll get the tools out and we'll tighten that guy down. The reason I said you only need this finger tight is because now that you have it installed, it's a lot easier to tighten things up without this wanting to spin on you. So I'll tighten up this section here, and then I'll tighten this up with some tools, and then we are good. We can hop over to the other side. Like I said, when you do this, plan to go to an alignment shop pretty much immediately after. I would not drive around on it. Your alignment's going to be really out of whack, but you'll be enough. It'll be enough, at least close enough to get you down the road. But anyway. All right, so our driver's side is done for now until we get an alignment. So as far as on installation, so first thing we did is we measured from the boot to the center of the ball joint, 13 inches on the driver's side here, so we wrote that down. Next thing we did is we loosened up the jam nut, then we loosened up the bottom nut here, made sure the tie rod end was free, and then we removed the tie rod from the inner tie rod. Once we did that, then we located the new jam nut, threaded that guy on there. Then we found the RPG kit, threaded that on there. We just made these guys hand tight, made sure that it was 13 inches from here to the center of this joint here. And then we took our misalignment and we installed the bottom portion into the knuckle, and then we installed the top portion, and then that's how everything connected. Now, the one thing I did forget to say is we did hit this with the drill bit just to make sure that that bolt clears. But that is how easy it is to replace the tie rod ends on the front end of your Raptor. So now I'm gonna go over and do the passenger side, and then what we'll do is we'll drive this over to the alignment shop tomorrow morning. I'll show you the before and after alignments, and then we could shut this one down. All right, so just got back from the alignment shop and everything is dialed in. So one thing they did say is things are super out of whack, and I knew that going into it. My steering wheel was like 2 or 3 degrees off center. It looked kind of ugly, but I knew it was short term, so wasn't too concerned about that one. And again, that's just because I was trying to eyeball things just based on measurement. You're not going to get exact until you get that on the alignment bench. But let's take one last look here. There you go. The thing looks absolutely beautiful. One thing the tech did say is these were super easy to get aligned. He said when I brought it in, I was about 2.5 degrees out of whack. I don't have the sheet because they were trying to get me out of there pretty quickly. But he said it was very easy to dial everything in on both sides. But anyway, that is how you install the RPG outer tie rod ends with the jam nut that comes in the kit. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I will leave a link to this part down in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. Bye.